She's a heavy girl. Definitely a heavy girl. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, my name is Big Bo Vlogs. I do reviews, news, everyday vlogging, and every once in a while I'll do a tutorial. If this video is educational or somewhat entertaining, please consider smashing that like button and maybe subscribing to the channel for new videos when I post them. So first off, before we get started, I wanted to thank Tariq and Julio over at Cyclone FPV. If I ain't got it, that's the shop you want to go check out. Customer service is absolutely amazing. They got me one of these because I got a little bit late, and you know, you don't get in line, you ain't getting one, and I wanted to be able to get my hands on one. I don't like beating those dead horses or seeing a lot of videos. You know, everybody's doing a video about it. I don't want to like have my impressions sort of like I don't know, reading or listening to other people's videos sort of subliminally puts things in your head that you probably wouldn't think or you probably wouldn't say. You just heard somebody else say it, and it just comes out, like, you don't really even realize it. So I wanted to get one of these early so I can kind of get my hands on it and do a review of it before I heard a lot of different other videos. That's what I normally do when something comes out. I try not to watch the videos from, some of the big time YouTubers because I don't want to, regurgitate their opinions. And they got me one of these things overnight, and I absolutely appreciate it. So thank you, Tariq. Thank you, Cyclone FPV. We'll definitely be doing business in the future. But yeah, today I wanted to talk about the new DJI FPV drone. The FPV community is absolutely losing their mind over this thing right now. And let me just give you a quick, opinion about the FPV community, because I've never been in a group or a hobby that you got a lot of guys who, for some reason, seem to think that they own the definition of FPV, the freestylers, the racers. They think that FPV means that what they do is FPV, and it's not. You have FPV boats, you have FPV cars, you have FPV wings, right? But the FPV freestylers and racers think that if you're not banging a bando, shooting a gap, or, hitting some gates and breaking your shit, you don't really know what FPV is, and that is not the case. FPV stands for first person view. That is what it is. You just happen to be in the first person view hobby of flying through bandos or racing, doing freestyler racing. You do not own the definition. So when DJI released an FPV quad, they're absolutely losing their mind. They're like, they're taking our jobs. We build our own quads. We don't need anybody to build us a quad that can fly itself and land itself and blah, 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 blah. See, they're not used to the DJI ecosystem. They're not used to flying something like this. They've never touched a camera drone. They're used to building their own. Now, for me, right, who is this quad for? For me, I'm the guy who wants something that can do this, what this can do, with the convenience and technology and, I guess, some of the safety features that something like a DJI drone can do, right? So the obstacle avoidance. You can't always have your eyes on everything at all times. Sometimes you'll look down at that little corner to see what your battery life is, and next thing you know, there's a wall or a tree in front of you. Saves you from a crash, right? There are some guys who don't like breaking their shit. There are guys who don't like strapping $800, not $800, like a $300 GoPro onto a quad just to break it, right? They want to keep their stuff nice. I like to keep my stuff nice. My Vanguard, I take it up high, I flip it and roll it, I shoot through gaps wide enough to drive a bus through. I don't try to break it. And if you think that FPV means you got to break your shit, this is not the quad for you. Because what we have seen from DJI, if you haven't known, DJI doesn't normally let you repair your own DJI quad. But that may be different now, but that this is out, because I have actually seen a different post where someone actually listed all of the parts for the DJI FPV quad, because DJI wants you to be able to repair your quad. But they're not planning for you to intentionally try to break this. It's expensive. It's $1,400. It's not like this one, sub 1,000. I mean, I think sub $500. Put that together. So this and this are two different beasts. If you like cinematics, if you're like the Cinewhoop type of guy, and you want some, I guess, advanced features, this is for you. If you like banging bandos and breaking shit, you might want to stick with this. And I said that in my previous video. Go build yourself two or three of these instead of buying one of these. But let's talk about the quad itself, man. Getting it out of the box, I wanted to like feel it. I wanted to touch it. I wanted to see it with my own eyes because, like I said, watching Bartwell fly it and trying to see what the flight characteristics are, because you've seen guys do videos like on a FPV quad or I'll use the term DIY in this situation. On a DIY quad, you've seen videos where they've got bad tunes, they've got prop wash, and you can kind of say, yeah, the quad kind of flies like shit, right? Well, I wanted to see if this quad flew like shit, because this is DJI. I mean, this is literally alien technology at this point, right? It looks like an alien spacecraft. I mean, DJI came up with something that gives you crystal clear video for over a mile away, where a lot of guys are still flying that 1950s TV analog stuff. But, you know, DJI is literally probably reverse engineering alien technology. And this quad, you know, embodies like the future. It just looks so good. But I wanted to see like what it actually was, get my hands on it, and pulling it out of the box, like literally pulling it out of the box. I thought it was stuck for a minute, because I'm like, this thing couldn't weigh that much. And even though I joked about it in my last video saying, hey, could DJI have used a bigger battery, because it looks like it takes up a third of the weight of a third of the mass of the quad. Yes, this thing weighs a lot compared to what you normally would expect from something that's designed to be an acrobatic aircraft. If you've been into the hobby for a while, if you've been into RC, you know, if you want to do acrobatics, you try to lighten it up. It doesn't seem like DJI tried to lighten this thing up, which could kind of start an argument about whether or not this should have been given the ability to do acro. Because watching Bartwell fly it, I noticed that when he was doing flips and rolls and he was coming out of them, this thing dropped. It dropped like a potato. And I'll give you my impressions on why it dropped like a potato, and I'll also give you my impressions on why I think, you know, how the design will help it, you know, kind of stay in the air. But I wanted to kind of give you, you know, a breakdown of what this thing looks like. I wanted to show it to you. I wanted to give you a comparison to that, and, you know, pretty much, you know, get it all charged up and get out and fly it. But yeah, it's beautiful. It's got sensors all over it, like a DJI quad. It's got landing sensors. It's got front obstacle avoidance. On this particular quad, it's not really obstacle avoidance like the previous DJI quads that have it, where if you fly at a wall at 35 miles an hour, it would stop. Well, not even 30. If you want max speed at a wall in normal mode, it would stop well before you hit that wall. It would slow you down and then stop it, and you couldn't hit yourself by flying it toward yourself. This will give you the warnings that says, hey, there's an obstacle in front of you, and it will slow you down, but it will actually allow you, from what I'm seeing, to actually crash. So yeah, that's something that I'm going to have to get used to, because I try not to fly with obstacle avoidance, because it gives you better situational awareness, where if you know you could crash into something, you're looking for that crash, versus, you know, always flying the sensors on and hoping that the sensors will keep you from crashing, and ended up crashing because you went sideways and the sensor didn't check it. Yeah, so this is going to give you, you know, that beep when you're getting close to something, but it's not going to stop you from crashing, which is probably going to make everybody a better pilot, because they're going to be looking for the obstacle versus, you know, just flying around blindly hoping that the sensors will stop them from hitting something. The battery, it's heavy. It's a beefy battery, and again, it's not the typical DJI style. Like, I've never had an Inspire, but it reminds me of what an Inspire battery looks like. But to have to like pull this plug out like this first and then detach it, it's not typical DJI. Usually DJI, it's got some plugs right here, some plugs in there. You slide those together. What was that? Oh, the cap came off. Slide those together and you are good to go. Now I got to do an extra step to plug that in, make sure that's plugged in, and then I'm good to go. So changes to what DJI has done in the past, but there's something else that DJI has never allowed you to do that apparently that you can do with this, is you can repair it. You can repair this. Someone posted a list of all the parts, the arms, the camera, the covers. You can repair this if you've put it in or you crashed it. It looks like you can pull these bolts out, pull an arm off, put another one on, and that's never been something that DJI has allowed you to do. If you lost as much as a screw right here in the past, if you're new to DJI, yeah, send it in for a repair report. We'll fill out a repair ticket, and we'll get it back to you whenever we get it back to you, and send you an invoice of how much it costs. Like, they didn't even have a list of how much the repairs cost. You just paid what they wanted you to pay. So very different. I'm liking it so far, because I am that guy that wants something that can do what this can do, but still has all those safety and future features of what DJI has come out with. Now, comparing the two, I can side with the DIY guys, because DJI, I mean, they're used to building camera drones, and they didn't think about weight. I don't think in my opinion, they didn't think about, you know, some of the reasons that we use certain size motors and certain size props. They came up with something that could fly, and it has the ability to do flips and rolls. But it feels like, to me, from the weight of this and seeing some of the videos, that this is going to be a very overweight quad to fly. So you want to have a nice buffer between you and the ground, or between you and an obstacle, if you plan on doing loops with this thing, because it feels like, because of the weight and the power that I'm thinking that this thing can generate, you're going to potentially have some stalls or some drops that you didn't expect. Like this quad, no issues at all. I could flip this thing a foot off the ground and it will never touch the ground, because it's just got that power. Whereas DJI designed this thing, which is super heavy, But comparing the two, and I got to kind of reach around this camera, I've got 2806s, I think, on this, and this is a 6-inch blade. DJI came out with something that has smaller motors on it, weighs probably twice what this weighs, and they put these little tiny 5-inch props on it. Like these got to be like 5-inch props, right? So not sure why they went that route, because they use smaller props and smaller motors. But I'm thinking that this aerodynamic airfoil here, because it's got these aerodynamic wings, essentially it's got 4 wings on it and the props, is how this thing maintains its altitude. They're literally airfoils. If you look at it from the side, these airfoils sort of point up in the air. So they'd be working like your ailerons or your control surfaces on an airplane. It's literally designed so that it pushes you up in the air and using the props to kind of, give you the propulsion. But they've designed this more like an airplane with props than a quadcopter. I can just tell just by the design. It's designed to fly, and if it ain't got no wind going across it, like an airplane has wind going across the airfoil, it's going to be a very heavy quad. So I'm worried about that a little bit. But again, won't make my judgments until I've actually flown it. Camera-wise, beautiful looking camera. I was actually surprised at the weight of the quad. The camera itself feels very light and like plasticky. But I'm assuming that DJI built a very light plasticky camera because they know that you might put this thing in or crash it, and it costs less to replace this light plasticky camera than it would, an expensive, the camera that came, like what is that, Hasselblad camera that came on the Mavic 2 Pro. They don't want you to have to replace one of those because it could get expensive. I think those cameras were like $300 or $400. Sensors all over the thing, so not sure how they will survive a crash. Actually, I think they will be destroyed. If looking at some of the videos of FPV guys who were trying to, bash this thing around and destroyed it. Sensors all over it. So you got 2 on the front, 2 on the bottom, the normal landing sensors and front obstacle avoidance. You have no rear obstacle avoidance. Usually with camera drones, you're kind of flying backwards. I don't know if that's, the original DJI craft only had front obstacle avoidance. Not sure why they didn't put rear, probably because there's nowhere to put it, but hey, it is what it is. But for the price point at $1,300 plus, it's $1,300 for the quad itself, which they didn't offer the normal Fly More package where you got the extra batteries. You had to buy the Fly More package separate, which was another $300 where you got 2 batteries and a charger base. For the price point, like I said in my previous video, if you're looking for something like this, you can get this with a GoPro, build 1, build 2, and be able to repair it for less than what one of these costs, because this $1,300 and the batteries, which are $150 a piece, right? I can build battery. I was thinking, somebody said you can build your own battery. Yeah, you wouldn't be able to get the fit, but yeah, $150 a piece for these smart batteries, which is expensive, like phantom expensive. Like, Mavic batteries are about $100. Phantom over $100 expensive batteries. You're looking at a hefty investment in something, and that's where I go back to the whole FPV thing. This is not the quad that was designed to bang and bash. If you're looking to bang and bash, get yourself a Cinewhoop. Get yourself, something that, not even bang and bash, but if you're looking for flying obstacles, get yourself a Cinewhoop or something that's got protection on it. Even though DJI offers prop guards for this, again, it's not designed to shoot a bando with or to power bomb a freaking hole in the roof of a bando, right? It's heavy. You're not going to be able to pull out fast enough. Joking there somewhere, but yeah, it's not the quad for you. It is what it is. Like I said, I see these guys on Facebook groups like, oh, DJI, they're taking our job. We build our own quads. We fly our own quads. They don't land for us. Yeah, it's not the quad for you. And I don't think guys get that. They think FPV means crash. It doesn't mean crash. They are strapping like $7,000 cinema cameras to other FPV DIY quads. This quad is meant for someone who wants to go out, do some high video footage over top of some mountains and cliffs, probably dive through some cliffs and valleys and some trees, but not really rip around inside of a freaking bando. And watching the flight characteristics from some of the videos, that's another thing that I'm going to have to get into in a future video. It doesn't fly like one of these quads. I can't remember who it was, the Rotor Riot guy, or was it even Joshua? Joshua actually shows that if you hold the yaw stick, they have kind of attach the yaw and the roll together, so if you hold the yaw stick, it will actually turn by itself, where you kind of need to give 2 inputs to turn this. This one turns by itself, so it's going to be a learning curve. It's going to be a curve for if you are getting into this and then want to jump on one of these, you're probably going to be like, it doesn't feel the same. Yeah, it probably doesn't. But if you're getting one of these and then think you're going to fly this, you're going to be off. So think about that when you get into this. DJI quads don't typically fly like normal quads. Like they normally fly flat, and when you do turns, it uses the gimbal to kind of give you that turn effect, but it doesn't bank turn. So it stays really flat, does a little relatively flat turn, and it doesn't turn like a normal quad would. So just think about that. But yeah, I mean, right now, like I said, give you my impressions. Very heavy quad, small motors, small props. Technology-wise, you know, I don't know what it can do as far as the camera features. Can it do some of the things that the other DJI drones can do, like zoom? Can it do time-lapse video? Can it do you know, any of those camera features that all the other drones have? I'm not sure yet. I haven't seen anybody post any videos on them, and I try to stay away from videos until I actually get one, because I don't want to regurgitate subconsciously what someone else said. Can it do any of that? I don't know. But like I said in my previous video, if you want to buy it just because it exists, sure, why not? It's a DJI drone. You're probably going to love it. But if you're buying it for a specific purpose, know what that purpose is, because if you want something that's going to be like all out, every feature that you can use, and still, you know, like fly it super fast and do those really high video things like flying through the mountains, the Mavic 2 Pro series or the Mavic 2 Zoom series is probably a better deal. Fly more package for that with the batteries and everything. It's going to be a lot less than this, I believe, and you're probably going to get a lot more features out of it that you can use for every situation, and not just where this kind of this little niche for this quad, like chasing around drift cars or doing something, you know, acrobatic cinematic. So think about that. But this is my first video, probably going to be a series. I know I haven't done a series of videos in a while because I haven't really, you know, played with the DJI quads in a while. I was actually transitioning into this because of the FAA regulations and everything. So yeah, I don't think this has remote ID. DJI, what? It don't got remote ID? You know it's coming. Like even my Mini 2 has remote ID. So that means that I'm going to be stuck flying this thing in a freaking park. And if it is like any other DJI quad, yeah, it's going to be lockable through the application. I just fired up my Mini 2 the other day, and it won't even let me power it up like it used to, unless I got like a phone attached to it. Or if there's no GPS, it won't let you power it up. It's like you're not even, unless you unlock it, you can't do anything. That is the downside about a DJI quad. Security is probably one of their first priorities, and they will lock you out, make you not be able to take off because there's a flight restriction or an airport nearby. So the Ghost quad is probably for you if you're looking for no restrictions. This is probably not the quad for you. But hey, 17 minutes, I gotta go. I gotta get this thing charged up, and it's 50 something degrees, so maybe if I get it charged up and get it registered and everything, I can get at least one flight on it and get back to you. But I'll talk to you later when I get my batteries in and that little controller gimbal joystick thing. Talk to you later.